Okay. Hi, Elisa. What brings you in today?
Hi. It's nice to meet you. I have a few things. There have been times when I haven't been sleeping well, and last night was one of them. And I have really vivid dreams, and I think I kind of know why I had the dream I did last night, which was honestly, it was really horrible. We were in some hotel, and I felt really unsafe and was supposed to be helping babies with something, but they were evil babies. And so I
Okay.
actually had to like throw them off the balcony to like save my family. And I just felt horrible when I woke up that I had killed babies. And I suspect it's because we are studying Exodus right now in my women's Bible study. And it was
Okay.
just the 10th plague where God strikes down the firstborn, and just the idea of God killing a bunch of children just,
Right.
I think, didn't sit well with me.
Sure.
So, I mean, just to be honest, that's just been going through my mind. But like I said, I've been having some on and off anxiety about things, and I think the biggest issue for me right now is my relationship with my son. He's a 15-year-old, he's a teenager, and I think that age period would always be challenging, no matter what.
Sure.
But we have some family dynamics that are really not great and making it really challenging. So, for example, so I'm divorced, and
Yep.
my ex-husband and I have been divorced for about over 10 years. And so the kids were pretty little when we got divorced. And our marriage counselor actually did a lot of the mediation, and he was like, it's really important that you speak well of the other parent to your child. So that was a priority for me to speak well of as well as I could of their dad
Sure.
um, over the last, however many years. But what I didn't tell the kids, and I wasn't planning to tell the kids until they were like 25, when the prefrontal cortex is fully formed, is that a big reason why we got divorced is because their dad was abusive and abusing them. And actually, my individual therapist, as a mandated reporter, reported him to CPS.
Okay.
And so he told the kids in July, without me, without any warning. He told the kids that I reported him to CPS and that I exaggerated it. It wasn't really abuse. It was, just discipline, and that the kids were being difficult, and it was kind of their fault a little bit. Um, and that he just wanted to let them know or something along those lines. And I found out first from my daughter that that had happened, and it was a little bit just shocking first that he would do that without talking to me. And then my son came back from that weekend really angry with me and not wanting to talk. And you know, I know that over the years it's been hard for them to grow up in a divorced home. I know it was certainly not my first choice.
Sure.
Um, but it was the better of two options at the time. But I made an intentional decision about the school district that they're in. So there's a lot of intact families. Unlike most of the United States, we live in kind of a utopian kind of community. And
Hmm.
so they didn't grow up with most of their friends their parents being divorced. And our church community is not mostly not like that.
Right.
So I know that they've felt the stigma. And I think especially my son has felt the stigma. And yeah, I've been talking a lot with other parents of young adults about like how to deal with this. Our marriage counselor did speak with both kids and gave them the truth. And um, but my son just doesn't really want to. He doesn't want to believe it. He he wants to think his dad didn't do that to him. So that's been tough. And then I have to admit, I don't think I realized it until after this next thing happened that I have felt a little bit of like hurt at towards my son of like, why don't you believe me? Because I have full custody, so I have them most of the time. And like,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you trust like everything I did to try to keep you safe
Sure.
and protect you? Um, and I am in a counseling program, a master's of counseling program, and my last class was fascinating. It was on, I always forget the name. It was on like clinical psychopathology. So it's like diagnosing people.
Right.
And my professor would throw like case vignettes like up on the screen and he would be like, okay, it was kind of like sword drills in Sunday school. Like, open your DSM and open your textbook and like figure out like what the diagnosis is. And then like and then guess. And so and he threw this one up on the screen and it was like he had thrown my husband up on the screen with just some tiny minor details changed, but it was like my husband was up on this case vignette. And after we had our time to like look through the book and everything, the professor kind of laughed and was like, "Does anyone not know what this one is?" Because he was like, "It's so obvious what this one is." And we did all know what it was, and it was narcissistic personality disorder. And
Right.
that just like hit me like a ton of bricks. I had suspected for a long time that he had features of it, but um, yeah, I looked at the DSM a new way after seeing that and realized that my ex-husband probably has like 8 out of 9 features, and you only need 5, as you probably know as a
Right.
counselor. So he's a pretty entrenched um, narcissist, and now I'm seeing my son in a new light of it's making me realize that my ex has probably been manipulating my kids this whole time and bad mouthing me to the
Mm-hmm.
kids this whole time in a subtle way. But and I'm just like, I still don't know what to do, but it's weighing on me. And he's a sophomore in high school, and I only have 2.5 years with him before he goes to college. And so, like, how to repair this relationship.
Right. You're carrying a really heavy load of anxiety over your kids, over patterns that you're seeing could have been playing out,
Yeah,
and you're not sure how to um, facilitate a relationship with your son in these
yeah,
last years you have with him
yeah,
before he leaves. And it sounds like you're also feeling um, just the weight of realization of
hmm,
what might have been happening this whole time,
yeah,
and
that's right.
trying to process the
Yeah,
effect on you and your kids.
for sure. And just, you know, I come from a dysfunctional, abusive family. And so I was in counseling when I was a young adult before I got married. And there is part of me that is like just blown away that I managed to still, despite all the work I did before I got married,
Right.
still managed to marry someone with a personality disorder. And worse yet, decided to have children with him and put that on my kids. Like it's just, I feel a lot of responsibility for that. Like it's just not fair to them to grow up like this, to grow up. And it's not that it's not that I'm perfect either, right? Like so,
Right.
but it's just like a heavy weight. And to add to it, you know, I'm a Christian. My ex actually says he's a Christian, and he might be. Um, I don't think those two are mutually exclusive, being a narcissist and being Christian.
Right.
Um, but my daughter's a believer, but my son is not.
Okay.
And I have always felt like it was in probably in my ex pushed church on the kids a lot and pushed being involved in different Christian activities on the kids a lot. And so I always kind of thought that this was my son's way of like, I can own this. he would say like it's my choice whether I'm going to believe or not. It's up to me, and so I'm choosing not to.
Sure.
And it doesn't add up for me. And so I understand it, but at the same time, especially now with everything going on and all that he's probably not really processing, like he doesn't, I offered to have him see a counselor and he doesn't want to.
Hmm.
Um, I think he really should. He's very angry these days. Um, it's gotten a little bit better since I stopped really enforcing any rules. At the suggestion of a parenting expert, I've just like majorly backed off on enforcing rules, which sounds terrible. Um, but it has helped with decreasing the hostility in the house. Um,
Right.
but it's really important to me that if I know it's not up to me, but it's important to me to set the foundation for him to know the Lord. And
Sure.
especially when he has this kind of struggle, it would be so helpful to be able to go to God with this and to see the attributes of God our Father. And I didn't have a good father either. My father was actually worse. It's actually why maybe I married my ex because he wasn't as bad.
Sure.
Um, so, but knowing who God the Father is and how he is as a father, um, would help my son so much. But I feel like it's too late to really push, you know, more church activities on him. He does go because his dad requires it. But it's hard to like find ways to have conversations with him. Everything is all like yes, no, can you drive me here? It's it's hard to have a conversation, which is weird because when he was younger, it's like we couldn't stop the cars. Like he
Right.
was full of questions and curiosity and
Right.
wanting to talk about stuff.
So you're feeling a little bit of a loss of the relationship you might have had with your son in the past, and now you're concerned that he is not going to um, choose to believe
Yeah,
when you know deep down how much of a benefit that will be to his heart and his development.
yeah,
But you're also feeling a lack of control over
yeah,
his decision.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just shocking to me how much things have turned around when I think about the last 5 years. When the COVID pandemic started in 2020 and we were home all the time, I remember cooking dinner. So my son was like 10 at the time, and this is what I mean by like he asked lots of questions,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden, like he's like, "Mom, what's your biggest regret in life?" And like I'm like, "Oh no." And before I can even formulate a response, he then jumps in with his own hypothesis, and he's like, "I think it would be marrying dad. I think that marrying dad would have been your biggest regret." And he doesn't have any friends really. People don't like him, and
Mhm.
he's really difficult to be around. And I was shocked at his astuteness at the time. I, of course, did not want to badmouth my ex-husband. So I sidestepped the question a little bit
Right.
and told him at the time, I was like, I may have regrets about marrying your dad because I didn't want to be totally dishonest. I may have regrets about marrying your dad, but I 150, 200% have no regrets about having you and Ellie. And I am so grateful that I had the two of you. Um, but recently, this summer, as we've been going through all this angry stuff, he brought that up and he was like, "You really shouldn't have had us. It would have been better not to have us than have us grow up like this."
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh." So even now, I felt like got turned back around. And I'm like, oh, yeah,
Tell me a little bit more about how your son's the changes you've seen in your son. in the
Yeah.
last 5 years, how that is really affecting you emotionally.
Yeah. So I noticed it around age 11,
Okay.
and it kind of he started puberty early.
Mhm,
So it seemed to coincide with the beginning of puberty.
mhm,
And I do remember distinctly being at work um, in the elevator with two other women who had sons about the same age as mine.
mhm.
And one of them, she's British, and I'm not going to do her accent properly, or maybe I shouldn't even try, but she was like, I've just been shocked at like what assholes boys turn into when it sounds better with the British accent,
Sure.
when they turn like 11, 12 years old. And we were lamenting like how difficult it suddenly became.
Mhm.
And we were all women. And the third woman said that she had been doing some research on it, and that around puberty, boys need to especially push away from mom out of everyone. And it's kind of like they come to this realization of like, mom is also a woman. It's just like this.
Right,
And I don't know why that is such a big revelation to them, but it is. And so there's just a lot of like pushing mom away. And so I attributed a lot of this to that. And it hasn't consistently been like that. I felt like things got a little bit better when he was 14, starting high school. Like I felt like, oh, maybe we're through it, he's coming back. But this summer has been just starting this summer. I know it's already fall, almost winter, but to me, my head is still in the summer. I don't know, or this period of life, which started in July for me. Um, it's just been a really rough time. And I see little things like even though his dad doesn't want to drive him anywhere, the one time that his dad does drive because it's either, you know, leaving him there for an hour or like having him take an Uber by himself because I have work and
right,
um like he's so grateful and happy that his dad drove him that one time. Um but not at all acknowledging that mom drove him like all the other times.
right,
And so I'm okay. I think having teenagers, even with my daughter, like there's some aspect of it of being taken for granted. And this seems to be the time that that happens. I don't know if sometimes I let it go too much, like if I'm too accommodating. Um,
right,
I have a younger sister and a younger brother. I'm the oldest, and they say that I raised them. And I don't really remember that, but I guess maybe in some ways I did. And that I was more of a parent to them than our actual parents were.
okay,
And so I might be just used to having to do things for younger people and not expecting um, any sort of like thank you or appreciation for it. Because I think as a sibling, I felt even less leverage to be like, you should be grateful that I'm doing this for you. Um, it was kind of expected, oldest
right,
daughter. I think I see on Instagram like stuff about oldest daughter, and I'm like, it's a thing, like seems to be globally. And then I know that in the culture that my parents are from, it's really a thing.
right.
Oldest daughter is a doormat
Mm.
and expect to do all this stuff, but gets no thanks or credit for it. Um, but I don't want to raise entitled children either.
Right, right. So you're feeling maybe a bit of relief knowing that some of those ways that your son is acting in
Mhm.
order to differentiate from you is normal,
Yeah.
but you're also feeling the conflict of not getting the gratitude that maybe
Mhm.
you would like deep down, and also seeing him show gratitude to your husband,
Yeah.
and not you, and
Yeah.
feeling a little bit maybe frustrated, angry a little
Mm.
bit
Hmm.
about that, or confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. at least frustrated for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of makes sense, but it also, yeah, I think there is some part of me that is never going to understand. It makes sense how the male mind works. And so I don't really, while I recognize it and I know it's a thing, I don't really fully understand what the pull is for a teenage boy so much to like worship his dad. Like why is that so important? Because teenage girls don't worship their moms.
Right.
Right? Like
Right.
it's not a thing. So I don't know what that is, but must be some developmental thing. I don't know.
Yeah. So, as you're sharing, I'm thinking back to how you opened the session with
Mm,
your feeling anxious and with your
mm,
dreams,
yeah.
really vivid dreams. I'm just wondering if you could tell me more about if there's a connection maybe between your
Mm,
anxiety showing up in your dreams and what's happening with your family.
yeah. Yeah. So what I've noticed with my dreams, because they are very vivid and I almost always remember them, is that I usually can't dream about the horrible things that are going on present day. Like it's really hard. It's very rare. It's not like I try to pick my dreams, but so it's very rare for me to dream about something that's going on now and and with the people that it's going on now.
Right.
What tends to happen is that it'll be either now this baby thing was not from my past, but it'll be either like people from my past. It surprisingly, sometimes shocked because I've just really kind of um, put my parents out of mind and have gotten no contact with them for almost a decade at the strong recommendation of, I know therapists don't always want to give advice, but this was the one time my therapist was like, it might be really appropriate for you to um, go no contact with them. But they factor in my dreams a lot. And I do feel anxious in the dream a lot, even if it's not about current events. So I have noticed that. Um, so I guess it's possible that the anxiety I'm feeling when I'm awake, for whatever reason, my subconscious doesn't feel comfortable processing exactly that, but finds something similar or of equal intensity, and then I process that instead while I'm sleeping. And yeah, I'm not sure, but you're reminding me that I haven't thought about it for a long time, but before, even before I got married, I most of my childhood, I always had these dreams of flying.
Mm.
And it was really cool, like this kind of flying. And almost always I was flying away from something dangerous. And
Okay.
it was like, oh, but I can fly. So I will just, up and fly away. And I do remember in my 20s telling my therapist about it and him saying, you know, maybe try sometime when you're in the dream, if you can remember, see what happens if you don't run. Like, see what happens if you don't fly away. And I don't know if I ever successfully did that in the dream because I don't have any memory of me wanting to fly and then not. But I did notice that my flying dreams went away. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, so there might be, I don't know, there might be something similar I could do here to cut the anxiety somehow.
So tell me a little bit more about the sense that um, maybe the anxiety you have in your everyday life
Mhm.
is not safe to feel. And then maybe that's how it comes out in your dream. Is that possible?
That really resonates. That really resonates. And you would think I would have solidified that concept in my head because it was just brought to my attention a couple weeks ago. So I've been having a lot of GI issues also
Okay.
since the summer, and I finally saw my doctor and and I was like, I'm really backed up. I need help. Like I need, sorry for the TMI. I need help. And he was like, he didn't want to focus on the physical. He was like, what is, is there something particularly stressful in your life? And I was like, my life is always stressful. This is nothing new. Like it's always stressful. And after a while, he patiently got out of me what had happened this summer with my ex and my kids. And it was like this light bulb went off of like, that's why I'm having all these GI issues. And he did prescribe me medication, but I felt significantly better just walking out of the doctor's office, knowing that, like, oh, I tend to like minimize my
Mhm.
stress and anxiety when I'm awake. It's like, I don't have time for it. I'm a single mom. I have stuff to do. I have a very full-time job and I'm in school and I've got kids to take care of and there's no time to be stressed and worried about stuff. So that very well could be playing out for me, um, even in my sleep. This
Yeah.
feeling of like, there's no time for this.
Mhm.
So,
So in that meeting with your doctor, you felt relief making that
yeah,
connection, and that even alleviated some of the symptoms, just
it
being able
did.
to name that.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at the clock
Mhm,
and just want to acknowledge all of the mental load, the physical
mhm,
load, the emotional load that you are carrying
mhm,
with your kids, especially your son,
mhm,
as you're processing his development and the short time you have left with him at home,
mhm.
and just acknowledge the struggle with that.
Yeah,
But this would be a great place to pick up in our next meeting.
sounds good.
So I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, so I'm going to turn to giving you feedback.
Okay.
Because I know that's important for this. So I feel like you were, sorry, I'm just trying to pull up the feedback section.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. This one's less directed. Um, I really felt like you attuned with me. I felt like you were following along. I went a little bit around the, different places. Not to make it hard for you, but more just to kind of be really real with my
Absolutely.
like thought process.
Yeah.
Um, and because I wanted you to truly have a genuine problem to solve, and this is a
Right.
genuine problem.
Right.
Um, and I felt like you did a great job of like staying with me. Like I never felt like you like got bored or that you got confused. Like you knew exactly what was going on. You never like cut off the cadence of my story to be like, wait, what? How, like what happened there? And I felt like you were very warm and supportive, and your reflections of feeling were really on the mark, um, and delivered with a lot of empathy.
Hmm.
And there are a lot of points where you could have shown like judgment, like at stuff I was saying. And I felt like you did a great job with the unconditional positive regard too.
Hmm. Thank you.
I don't have a ton of constructive feedback to give you. I really felt like you did a great job. The only thing I can think of is, and it wasn't a problem for me, like how it sat with me as a client, but I just know that like our session was relatively short and our instructions are to like minimally use prompts. And so I don't know if that's a thing to flag for when you do your ECL, but I actually thought they were appropriate. So that's the only thing I can come up with, like that might be a thing,
Yeah.
depending
Okay.
on, yeah, depending on how the analysis goes. But
Okay.
um, yeah, I wish I could give you more like you should do more of this, do more of that, but I don't really have that.
Okay.
So,
Well,
yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And
Okay.
just on a personal note, I can identify with some of the things you're saying.
Mm,
That's
thank you.
probably why I was empathetic because I genuinely can understand with
Sure,
some of the family dynamics. So yeah.
sure. And that always helps too.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
we'll bring this into our counseling as counselors.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay. Well, should we leave and then make sure
Yeah,
that I can
yeah. Do you want to stop the
download this?
recording? Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we can leave and come back.
Yeah.